Good morning. Are we live? Are we live? Good morning. Is this? No, I have to be looking that way. Good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, or good evening, or welcome back. So I'm Abby Haggard, and this is my very first trading card. Is that incredible? I'm a trading card. This was a beautiful, beautiful gesture, gift, marketing idea created by the people at Cape. And what's really cool, aside from the fact that they thought of it, is that all my credits are on the back. Is that cool? I'm almost a hockey player. If you'll hang on one second. Give me a second here. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go. I have such cool things to talk to you about today. Really cool. All right. Is that happening? Something just happened. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. We are live. We are live. Okay. Today is the 5th of May. Cinco de Mayo. And a lot of people talk about it as being, having special meaning, having numerology meanings, having portal meanings. What I know is that it's the day after people have been saying, "May the 4th be with you." And as soon as that can be over, it's a great day. So I wanted to talk today about the way we are given instructions and when it happens to me, it's annoying. It's annoying for everybody, but I'm just clicking this too low FPS. I create another event. Uh, People mean well a lot of the time. And when they mean well, they say the thing they think you should probably end up doing. It's not it's not necessarily helpful if you don't know how to get from where you are to where you need to be. So when somebody says, just do this and just do that, if they knew how, they would say, and by the way, start with a cup of flour or something. Recipes. So I wanted to talk today about the challenges we're faced with when we know that a different part of our personality is going to do a much better job dealing with whatever situation we're faced with. How do we get out of our own way? How do we make that let go of this and choose that? How do we do that? Because just saying do it is frustrating beyond belief. So I wanted to talk about that, and as I was thinking about that, I was kind of searching for the right story, and the craziest thing happened. I was in the midst of saying, what is the best story I could possibly come up with? And then, all of a sudden, on the You Can't Do That on Television official page, one of the fans asked a question about Mom and her yellow rubber gloves. And another fan answered the question and then said, "Am I right, Abby? Am I close?" And I thought, and there we are. Ask and ye shall receive. So thank you, Isaac, for posing the question, and thank you, Mandy, for giving it your best shot, and thank you everybody else who liked my reply. And so I'm going to lead with one story, and then I'll have a silly story later. Okay? So here was the deal. First of all, I had no idea really what I was doing when I said yes to playing a role on You Can't Feel on television. Yeah, I think that's abundantly clear. I had no, had no clue. Children? Uh, well, what do you mean, children? What am I supposed to do with them? So every next decision I made was kind of a shot in the dark, and I had gone out of my way to find a great outfit that I thought was going to be um, a winner. I thought it was going to be different enough and yet somehow familiar enough that everybody would gravitate to it. And it was the blue dress with the white polka dots and the full yellow apron with the white polka dots that were the exact match, and then a pair of dreadful pink fluffy slippers, and then my girlfriend, who had this brilliant retro clothing store, suddenly had changed the wig on the mannequin in the window, and there was this little Orphan Annie hair, and I looked at it and I thought, ah, there. And I walked in and I said, I need the wig. She can't sell you the wig. It's on the mannequin in the window. Yeah, you can. I need it. And so she relented, and then Mom ended up with this odd kind of look of memories of a lot of things that might or might have not been accurate, and yet they set a tone. And the tone was sort of the 50s, sort of the 40s, sort of old-fashioned, full-on apron. The woman never leaves the kitchen. She really has no life outside the house. Her identity is the house. And then this crazy thing happened. We did the first few shows, and then Nickelodeon had this wonderful idea, and so Nickelodeon licensed the rights to air the show from us, and then they sub-licensed the rights to broadcast to the U.S. Armed Forces Network. And a couple of the key decision makers came up when they said we wanted to meet Mom. They had said to the producers, you can't have a show without a mom. Dad's not a widower. You need a mom. And so then the auditions happened and I got chosen. So when they came up to meet me, I was, doing something, some sketch, and they were watching. And during a break, one of the producers said, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You're clearly not a housewife. And I said, busted. I didn't say busted. I thought, and they said, you don't look like a housewife. You've got the wrong attitude. You grew up, your hands, look at your hands. I mean, there's no self-respecting housewife has a manicure like that. I kind of, oh, hang on. And I nimbly, gazelle-like, sprang over to the props area and said, rubber gloves. And they handed me a pair of whatever they had, which happened to be pink. I put them on. I came back and I said, look, Ma, no hands. And the Nickelodeon people laughed and said, perfect. Because as soon as those gloves are on, the way you move your hands is different. You can still do an elegant gesture. Here's an elegant gesture. There's an elegant gesture. Okay, now, not the same. It's I suddenly have a deep desire to have a conversation with this glove. How you doing? Sorry. Channeling my inner Muppet there for a second. You see what I mean? I erased my hands without having to lose my manicure and therefore without having to make a fairly significant personal brand choice, in that I did a lot of public events. I did a lot of charity things. I went to a lot of entertainment events. I did other shows. So in order to comply with the needs of Nickelodeon, I found a way to choose the best outcome for them, for their needs, for their purpose, for our audience, without compromising my opportunities. I found a middle ground. the gloves, ta-da. And they became ubiquitous. They became so integral to the signature of mom, and you can't do it on television, that it's really transformed lots of fan conversations. That's an important illustration. So thank you, Isaac, and thank you, Mandy, and thank you, You Can't Do It on Television official page, for putting that out there, because it gave me the trigger to have this conversation. How do you make that choice is an exercise in profiling. And the reason I'm focusing on this so much is it's bigger than this beautiful project that I've launched called Pivotry in Motion. It's bigger. Pivotry in Motion is a reflection of what is going on today. It is a reflection of our curiosity and our confusion and our need to find a different way to come back from our interrupted lives from the last couple of years, and our interrupted lives from the fallout of the last couple of years. Pivotry in Motion is my conversation with you about the way we use our unique ability to profile our situations, other people, and ourselves in order to pull together a best case scenario match. It's perfect matching. When we don't know how to match, we chase the outcome. And as my dear, sweet, crazy, mad protege Tyler Westerland so famously said, if you're chasing it, you're doing it wrong. And he was talking about everything. It was in the book called Fame. He was talking about everything. If you're chasing it, you were sick the day they gave out the instruction. If you're chasing it, you're doing it wrong. And so on Tuesday, I talked about Wayne Gretzky, the great one, Canada's incredible hockey player, who has famously said, I don't skate to where the puck was. I skate to where the puck is going to be. How does he know? Profiling. He knows where the puck is going to be based on years and years and years of practice, thanks to his hockey coach dad teaching him the physics. Hit the puck like this, going to go there. If you want to hit the puck yourself, be there when the puck arrives. Be there ahead of everyone else. Profiling. Pivotry. Be the guy who hits the puck, not the guy who chases it. Very interesting. So it still doesn't answer the question, how do we do that? So I wanted to talk about that today. I also wanted to have the conversation about other people's expectations. This card, this lovely trading card created by the organizers of the Cape event that we attended last week in Cornwall, decided that this would be an awesome, awesome marketing tool. A trading card. Nobody does trading cards for fan cons. Why not? Wouldn't everybody want to collect them? Absolutely. All right then. If everybody wants to collect them, I guess we better make them. And so they did. And when I was talking to Lance Moran, who is the showrunner for the FanaticCon events, he said, they're so smart. They're so on top of things. Because they're profiling who their people are and what their people want. And they're coming up with their best guess outcomes. How they chose it, I have no idea. That they chose it, I'm very grateful. And so are the fans. So, Let's talk about this. Suppose you meet someone and you say, hi, and they look confused. And you say, hi, and they still look confused. And you don't know what to do, and they sign language. And you look and you think, sorry. And they get out a pen and a piece of paper, and they say on the piece of paper, I can read your lips. Talk slowly. That's an instruction. We are given an instruction to follow. The instruction is, I can't communicate with you the way you communicate using words unless and until you slow down so that I can read the shape your lips make when you're talking. The first time that happened to me, I did the dumbest thing. And as I did it, I knew I was doing it. I slowed down, and I talked to them very, very carefully, and I raised my voice. And the next thing they wrote was, okay, it doesn't matter how loud you are, I still can't hear you. P.S. I'm not dumb. So the person I had chosen to be in order to be able to connect with them was the wrong one. I wasn't talking to someone who was simple-minded, and I wasn't talking to somebody who just had a volume problem. I chose two actions that were completely useless. Why did I do that? I don't know. I was overcompensating, I guess. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be keen. I wanted to be the person they said, oh, wow, thank you, that's amazing. Not so much. So as soon as I realized what I needed to do, I shifted the way I was talking. And here's what I realized I needed to do. I needed to think of this person the same way I thought of a person from another country who used a different language. Sometimes when people use a different language, they still understand a few phrases of our language. As long as you speak slowly and carefully and clearly, they have the time it takes to hear what you said and have the little guy in the back of their brain translate it loosely to kind of understand. You don't slow down so much that you're annoying. You slow down enough and you use your mouth enough so they can follow. They can recognize the words you're saying. That was all I had to do, was think of them as needing a slightly slower version of normal me. That was it. When I did that, and I watched them smile, and I watched them nod, it was a weird sensation because they weren't looking me in the eye, of course. Their focus was on my lips. So I felt a little bit disjointed. It's sort of like when I'm talking to you. If I'm going to do this because there are people. Good morning, Lyle. Good morning, Garen. All right, and I'm going to click on their things, their little comments. Morning, guys. You see what happens? I'm looking away. Even if I keep my face directly straight here and I look away, I'm not looking at you. If I look away from the camera and I look down to see if there's anything wrong on the screen, I'm not looking you in the eye. it's disconcerting. It feels slightly as though I'm not really focused on you. It feels a little bit like I have something else that's more important than you. Right? That's the takeaway that you have when I'm not meeting your gaze. You know, when people pick up their cell phone while you're talking to them and they look away and they're nodding, but they're not looking at you, they're looking down at their phone, you know that who you are and what you're doing and what you're saying has become the next thing they're paying attention to. And it's annoying. You say, is that important, what you're doing? What? No. Okay, then why are you doing it? Well, I don't know, I just wanted to check. Yeah, but we're talking. We're having a conversation, and you have just left the conversation. So I'm the only one talking. No, I can hear you. Go ahead, keep on. No, see, that's insulting. This happens a lot. The reason I've just walked through that little exchange is that the person looking away, the person just kind of addicted and curious to catch what's on the phone that might be more interesting than I am, has chosen the wrong version of them for this equation, for this exchange, for this moment of connection. They've kind of disconnected. One of the character qualities that I deliberately chose for Mom was a thing my mother used to do when she wasn't listening. Her voice would change. She didn't know it, but her voice definitely changed. And so she would be talking to me like this, and then this would happen. Well, that's nice, dear. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, yes, well, of course, dear. And I knew she wasn't home. I knew that she'd left the building. And so I was always very tempted to say, ridiculous things like, so anyway, elephant, to see if she heard me. And sometimes she did, and a lot of the time she didn't. And she'd just catch the end of it, and she'd say, dear, what did you just say? I'd think, gotcha. These are illustrations of what it's like when we don't choose the right version of us to meet the moment. Well, thank you, Abby. Very interesting, still not helping, right? Okay, so here's the deal. It's really kind of cool. There are, at all times, 3 things going on in our heads. All the time. 3 of them. One of the things that is going on in our heads is the cave brain in the back. The cave brain is our primitive first brain that kept us alive back in the days when we lived in caves. It's very primitive. It only thinks in the present tense. It believes we only have one tribe that we belong to, and that our survival is predicated on pleasing the alpha leader of the tribe. The cave brain has no idea that our lives have evolved, that we have evolved. The cave brain is not aware of anything else going on. It performs very basic, very primitive, very essential functions. It keeps our hearts beating. It keeps us blinking. It keeps our blood flowing. It keeps us breathing when we're asleep. It keeps us from making rash decisions, it thinks, based on this list of how we do this, how people like us in our tribe do this. A lot of those instructions are really good. A lot of them aren't, because they're out of date and they haven't been updated. So that leads us to the second thing that is always going on. What is always going on in our head is a loop tape, a blooper reel of things we were told. Yeah, all the time. You'll never amount to anything. You might as well stay. under your bed. You're just like your uncle. My God, he was a this, a that, or the other thing. You look just like so-and-so. Why can't you measure up? We hear those words. We hear them over and over and over again because cave brain influence, if it's a warning, it's designed to keep you alive. Simple as that. What happens to us in the modern day is we live our lives inside those rules. We live our lives inside that loop tape. We're afraid to venture out beyond the loop tape. So before we make any decision, we check the loop tape. It probably won't work. Probably won't work. This kind of thing always happens to me. I'm just like my uncle. I'm always the one in the line where the cashier has to leave, where some clown 2 people ahead of me has a price check going on. Why is it always me? The lights always turn red when I get to the stop sign. That's the loop tape. It's not true. It's what we've chosen to remember because the cave brain thinks that those kinds of statements that were wired into us are designed to keep us alive. It's an error. Okay, so that's 2 things that are going on all the time, simultaneously, in the back. We don't even know we're listening to them. We don't even know they're going on. They're deep, deep, deep. And the third thing is our ego. If you make an incredibly unhelpful decision, and I have made my share and several other people's shares of unhelpful decisions, so I recognize them. We have a choice, and the choice always is to stick by it and double down, or to laugh hysterically and say, okay, my bad, and move on. That's it. The ego doesn't like you to move on because the ego thinks it's all that. We, in order to be able to choose the best version of us for our moment, for every moment, we have to recognize, we have to learn to recognize that those 3 things are going on, which means we have to do a check. We have to say, who's talking to me right now? Who's guiding me right now? What am I doing? Is that my unhelpful cousin talking? Is that my cave me talking? Am I wearing pants? Did I remember to leave the house with shoes on? Who's doing this? Is this my pride? Is this my ego getting in the way? We have to do that check in order to grow, in order to win, in order to be awesome. How can we do that? How can we let go of those 3 very, very powerful influences? The answer is we must consciously choose the person we are engaging with. We must consciously choose to look at them, to profile them, to see what they're doing, to see, if we can, why they're doing it. And we must give ourselves permission to get curious, to see if we can get in step with them. If some version of us can meet their needs the way we want to meet them. So, the person I met who could lip read and use sign language because they were deaf, I had choices. When I did it the wrong way, because I was listening to those three other things in my head. And I got a note that said, I'm not this and I'm not that. And I looked at the note. I had choices. I had choices. I could have doubled down because I was being fed by my ego. Well, I should think I could do that. Or I could care enough about making the connection that I paid attention to what they need. And then I did a thing I'm good at. I changed the way I spoke. I can change the way I speak on a dime and give 9 cents change. It's one of my blessings. Why wouldn't I use it? In order to create an opportunity for us to have a connection, a friendship, a conversation. For me to learn what life is like for them, I needed to get out of my own way. Did it work? Yeah, it did. You know something I learned that was really cool? This fellow was a really good dancer, and I didn't know how to ask without sounding ridiculous. So I thought, okay, then just ask. Sound ridiculous. Go ahead. I asked him how it worked, because he was a really good dancer, and he could really, he was with the beat, and he said that he could feel it through the floor. The music was loud. There was percussion. He could feel the beat. He couldn't necessarily follow the tune, obviously, but he could feel the vibration because of the volume. Oh, interesting. I learned something. And he was a really good dancer. Very cute, too. What did that allow me to learn? It allowed me to learn something I had never known before. It allowed me to make a new friend. It allowed me to go dancing. And it allowed me to close a gap that had existed very easily by getting out of my own way and by using the thing I'm good at, which is changing my voice, changing my facial expressions while I talk. Easy peasy for me. Therefore, use it, right? Therefore, use it. In a situation where we are dealing with people who are struggling with something, and we can tell they're struggling. If we stop saying, I look awesome in this dress, I should never have worn these pants. If we stop doing that, and we focus on the other person, and we can tell that there's something off. They're fidgety, maybe. Their eyes are not tracking well. Their breathing is shallow. Their skin may be damp, pale, reactions slow. We have choices. How do we get to be the best version of us, to lean in to a conversation with that person? How do we find a way to let them know that we're here and that we're safe for them to breathe, to just breathe? How do we do that? Okay, I'm going to tell you this incredible, amazing, quirky story. I don't know what I expected. I'll tell you, in a million years, it wasn't what I saw happen. So, a little earlier, on my Facebook page, I posted a picture of my book launch for Unsuitable, a novel romance. So I held the book launch. Since the book was called Unsuitable, I looked for an unsuitable place to stage a book launch, and I chose a Lexus car dealership. Because why not? The reason I chose the Lexus car dealership is because there was a chandelier in it and a lot of expensive cars, and I thought, okay, I'm all in. And I invited people, and we had snacks and we had beverages and we had just kind of a fun, eclectic turnout. And all the people who had bought books came, and other people came because, somebody's a celebrity and somebody else is a celebrity and we all want to hang out together. It was a good time. So two of the people I invited, who are talented, funny, really smart, and committed to the health and well-being and happiness of their community, are two fellows who do professional drag. They do the amazing outfits and the makeup and the songs and the entertainment, and they're a hoot. They're really talented. They're really great people. They're generous. They're kind, and they're a riot. They're an absolute riot. So I invited them to come, and one of them said, in drag, and I said, sure, whatever, your call. And the reason I had invited them is because you need to have 3 or 4 people working a book launch with you. You need to have people checking off names and making sure that people get their books. You need to have people who are making sure that people have something to drink and they're socializing and they have something to eat and they're enjoying themselves. And if they have any questions about what's going on, you're like a tag team. And you need people who are kind of wired the way you are, in that they know how to work the room, they know how to see people who are a little uncertain and scoop them up and carry them off to having fun. So these 2 fellows, I said, I want you to come. Would you come? I need you as my tag team. And they said, absolutely, we're so there. And so there they were, and they were doing what they do for me in their own way. Another group of people I invited, people who are part of a community that I have lived on the edges of. Military veterans, first responder veterans who, good morning, Christopher. Veterans who are dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. For the military veterans, typically it was an incident that took place in front, when they were seeing action, front lines. And for first responders, equally so, it was something that they saw on city streets, familiar places that they didn't expect. It was larger, it overwhelmed. It was something they couldn't get back from without significant help. And this organization that I am a very, very strong supporter of, trains service dogs to predict, to alert at the first hormonal warnings that a PTSD episode is about to happen. These dogs are trained to smell the hormone shift. When they touch their human, the touch interrupts the episode. And the brilliance of that is that the scarring doesn't recur. The most amazing thing about that experience is that for people who suffer deeply, their episodes can happen when they're asleep, and it wakes them up. And when they wake up, they don't know where they are. It's a full-on reliving of the moment. If the dog can disrupt that before it takes hold, they don't lose sleep. They don't re-traumatize. They have a chance to get rest. If it can be interrupted during the day, they are less anxious about going out into the world because they don't have to worry as deeply that an incident might happen in public. And so the long game is that these veterans with their dogs begin to live a better quality of life, begin to feel safe in their own skin. And it gives them the confidence to go out into the world. They're not necessarily able to hold a job, but they can feel okay with mingling. That is extraordinary. So I had invited this wonderful veteran I know to come to the party, to come to the book launch, and bring anyone he felt would enjoy themselves. And the warning always is, we may not stay long, Abby. It may be too much for them, and we have no way of knowing until the moment. And I said, I understand. My hope is that you come, and my hope is that you have a good time, all of you, as many of you as you want to bring, and I hope that it's an experience that they'll be able to use in a positive way to think about going to other things. So here's what happened. Oh yes, third element. My brilliant, talented, fabulous photographer slash video producer, Dave Poulin, his business is called Studio 9. He's just incredible. He was there set up with cameras, and I had a red carpet, and I had the brag wall behind us, and the whole idea was, as often as possible, as many people as possible, go stand in front of the brag wall, hold up your glass, hold up your sandwich, hold up your Twinkie, do whatever, and smile for the camera, and Dave was there taking amazing pictures. The picture that's on my Facebook page, just below where I am recording now, is the picture of my two crazy, beautiful, talented tag team posing with me. When we stood there and Dave said, let's get a shot of the three of you, the diva to my left said, Charlie's Angels. And so they struck poses, and I struck mine. And it's a great picture. So here's what happened. At some point after that picture, Dave asked the veterans to pose. One of them had a real problem, could not look at the camera, and was not physically looking okay. There was a tension, and my friend, you could see that he was aware, and the others, you could see that they were aware, and this beautiful, wonderful person was really struggling to manage how they were feeling in this moment. And so Dave took one picture, and then one of my tag team went over and had a little chat. Took the person aside, had a little chat. And I could see nodding, and no smile, nodding, and more nodding. And my tag team, no touching, just talking quietly, looking in the eye. Okay? Person, okay. Walked away. Dave said, are we ready for another picture? And my contact said, are we ready for another picture? And everyone nodded, including the person who was having a problem. And so they all got together again, dogs in front of them, and they all posed. And the person who had been having a problem looked straight into the camera, and there was a very small smile. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe the transformation. And then after that first picture, there was kind of and everybody relaxed. The ripple effect was very slow, very small. And they stayed for 4 or 5 or 6 more pictures, and then gradually relaxed and carried on. And I went over to my miracle worker, and I turned away from the group, and I said, what did you do? And he said, I explained why the camera is not the enemy. I explained why we all fear the exposure and why it's good to step in to that moment. That's all. And I said, and how do you know that? He looked at me and he said, are you out of your mind? Do you have any idea what I have gone through in my life? Thanks, I said. And the party continued. Now, the most incredible thing was that that group of people stayed for well over an hour. I had been cautioned that they might just kind of come in and stay for a few minutes, and then one or more would have to leave. And in fact, while they were there, once or twice, one or another would go outside for a few minutes, but then come back in. This group stayed for a really long time, and I finally had an opportunity to speak to that one person who was struggling. And I said, you're enjoying yourself? And they said, yeah, big surprise. Big surprise. It's an amazing time. Thank you. And I said, well, no. Thank you. Every single person in that group found the strength to come to support the person I knew, to believe that he had profiled me correctly, and I was someone they could connect to, feel safe with, in spite of how I look, in spite of the career that I have. He told them a little bit about my story, and they were willing to give it a try. So they brought their best selves. When there was an issue, my friend brought a new dynamic to the conversation, channeled all the challenges that existed their challenges in their life. I was just applauding from the sidelines. I could not believe what I was seeing. What was I seeing? I was seeing people setting aside their own loop tapes, their own egos, their own ancient cave survival training to make a friend, to lean into the moment, to find a way to participate in something cool. Not life-changing, just cool. So, how do we choose our best self? How do we choose the part of us that is not about chasing an outcome, but about manipulating the outcome so that everyone wins? Step number one, we're not the only person in the room. Step number two, we don't know enough about the other person to make judgments until we're willing to learn. Step 3, choosing to see if there's a way to make a friend. What's your favorite ice cream? Chocolate? Want to go get a chocolate ice cream? Do you like chocolate? I'm going to like it today. It's that straightforward. It's also that complicated. Because we have to be willing to change, to shift, to bring out some other aspect of us. When Nickelodeon said, "Nice manicure," it's all wrong for the show. We need to find somebody else. They had a lot riding on it. They had a lot riding on the decision they had made to tell us that we needed to have a mom. They had a lot, big dollars riding on it. So they said what they needed. I had choices. Nobody's going to tell me to. Did I want the job? Did I chase after them and say, yeah, oh no, I'll get rid of it right away? No. I said, how can I get around this? What can I do? What can I do? Went over to the props cupboard. What can I do? What can I do? And, oh my God, gloves. How easy is that? Will that work? Cover the hands with gloves. They said, well, what are we going to do if you're playing another character? I said, it's easy. All my characters will wear gloves. Problem solved. I have no hands. I was willing to lean in to bring a solution that I was driving. Does that make sense? Before I end today, I want to tell you a great story. It's a very small story. It's really cool. There's this friend of mine, talented, clever, who has done an extraordinary pivot in his career. And I'm not going to give away too many details because we haven't had our conversation yet. However, I think, fingers and toes crossed, he's going to be part of the book because he did this extraordinary thing. In his early years in the entertainment industry, he was a force to be reckoned with in his ability to poke fun at politics. And he was a writer for a lot of television shows. And he was mischievous because, the whole Scottish-Irish Viking thing, the force is strong in that one. And he did very well. He did really well. And he had a good time. He got himself into all kinds of trouble. And the stories are hysterical to hear. And then one day, he said, you know what? This is a fun time. It's not the long game. It's not going to serve me well in the future. Let me correct that. It's not going to serve me well enough in the future. And he stepped back. And he said, what am I good at? What am I good at that I can repurpose? What am I good at that can set me apart from everyone else? That can serve a need and draw a crowd? Well, I'm a great listener, and I have my finger on the pulse of the way decision makers get themselves in trouble. And I can write powerful stuff. And he said, well, you know what I can be? I can be someone you take seriously. And he went to Harvard and got a degree and repackaged himself. Not as a comedian, as a coach, as a mentor, as someone who can help you get out of your own way if you're a decision maker. And he's really good at it. Does he miss the old days? Well, sure. He uses that mischievous ability in his personal life. He's a riot. He's able to live in both worlds. How? Because he chose the best version of him to own his moments. He didn't let his ego get in the way. He didn't let his cave training get in the way. And he didn't. He chose well. And he's highly respected for all kinds of different reasons by a whole new world of people. Is that cool? I'm just in awe of the bravery of doing that, of the fearlessness of doing that. And I can't wait for the time when he and I have our conversation and we end up with a chapter on him in Pivotry in Motion. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So, a couple of things to say. It's Mother's Day this Sunday. And I have to tell you, when we were doing You Can't Do It on Television, one year, Mother's Day was on a weekend when we were shooting. And I showed up and I'm doing my thing, and I noticed that over in the link set off camera, there seemed to be a lot more kids than usual. And I just kind of noticed, but you know, you're focused, you're working. And then we took our break in the middle of the day, and you know, lights up in the studio, and Roger said, "We have a little ceremony for you, Abby." And I said, "We do? Why?" And Carol Hay was there with all these kids. So it wasn't just the kids who were on those episodes at the moment. There were all the other kids from the acting classes and the drama classes, and who were going to appear or who had appeared on the show. And I said, "What's the ceremony?" Carol said, "It's Mother's Day." And I said, "It's Mother's Day." "Oh, well, thank you." And so 3 or 4 of the smallest kids came forward with the largest box of chocolates I have ever seen in my entire life. It appeared to be the size of a ping pong table. It wasn't that big, but the sheer size of it was really quite impressive. And I said, "Oh my goodness." And so I had the box, and they said, "You need to open it." "Oh yeah, okay." So opened it, and there's like 11 million chocolates. And there's all these kids smiling. And I did what I thought was the most reasonable thing. Would any of you like a chocolate? Picture, if you will, a tank full of piranhas. And you know, it's like locusts. The box of chocolates just kind of levitated, and and I stood there horrified, and Roger and Les and Carol were howling with laughter. The crew was laughing hysterically, and I said, "What the hell was that?" And Roger said, "I told them it wouldn't work, Abby. I told them that you would do something like that." I said, "Well, how the hell am I supposed to know? They're all over there snarling and eating all the chocolates." And Roger said, "And that's why I bought you this little box of chocolates. For heaven's sake, don't tell the children." And it was, you know, a tiny little box with 6 perfect chocolates in it. And I said, "Well, thank you. Thank you." So I have never forgotten that Mother's Day, because it's one of the only Mother's Days I've ever really celebrated, given all things being equal. It is also such a perfect example of figuring out your best self for the moment. Because possibly, had I put the box down on a table and stepped back and said, "Go ahead," I wouldn't have been trampled. See? Thinking beyond our ego. Everything about the idea that people I have met briefly or have never met, who loved You Can't Do That on Television for all the reasons that this show deserves the love. When they reach out and they wish me Happy Mother's Day, it is an extraordinary experience. It is a wonderful opportunity to say thank you. Back in 2018 at Ottawa Comic Con, the event fell on Mother's Day weekend, and one of the fans showed up on Saturday, did the thing, and then showed up on the Sunday with a Mother's Day card and said, I thought everybody would be bringing you Mother's Day cards. And I said, listen, everyone did. They're here. Thank you. This is beautiful. So this is not a pitch, by the way, for wishes for Happy Mother's Day. This is an acknowledgement of the beauty of the relationship that we can have with other people when we get out of our own way. The fact that fans want to reach out and say, can I tell you how this show has affected me? Can I say anything to celebrate with you? They did it at Cape. I know that they're going to do it again in Brockville next weekend, which is why I said the other day, I'm going to officially celebrate Mom's Day next Sunday in Brockville, so that on my 40th anniversary as Mom on You Can't Do That on Television and as 3 of the original Care Bears, I can also celebrate Mother's Day with the people who go out of their way to come and see me and say hi. So if you're going to be in Brockville, come and see me. Come and say hi. You still have time to get tickets. I will look for the link so that you can pick them up and make your plans accordingly. Be amazingly sweet and attentive to everyone you know this weekend, more so than normal, because this has been a tough time for a lot of people the last couple of years. And a lot of us are being moms who were never asked to be, and we never signed up for the job, and we just kind of ended up there. And some of us have had to put our momness on hold in order to fill in the gaps and the void that has happened around us because of the crisis. So let's all think of the amazing people who love us and make us feel safe this weekend. Dads too. Okay? Let us be good to us. Let us look at our situations, get our baggage out of the way, and lean in with our best selves to seize the day. Is that a fair toast? I hope so. So between now and next Tuesday, have a lovely weekend. Be good to you and hug your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching.